little bit of a throwback for Falcons Mena to 5 to 7 months ago in our meta. ZENO Zenith showing what it means to play MLBB now in this current stage. So it's a battle of styles and a battle of 2 goals. On the right side for ZENO Zenith, just secure the 2-0. For Falcons Mena, make sure that you do not get eliminated here. It's a best of 2. It's match, nay, tournament point for the hometown heroes. ZENO Lilies will still have a match later on. That's it for me and LaFell. Because now as we enter this game number 2, we'll pass you on over to our 2 casters who has been with us ever since Series 1. It's Mirko and Trex. You two, just put on a show.
Thank you so much, Renmar and LaFell. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're gonna be jumping into the possible last game. This is match point essentially for Falcons Mena here. They gotta step it up if they want to get out of groups here. ZENO Lilies once again bring something spicy to the table. This is 4 games in a row. I think we've seen a new pick pop up for MWI here. Selena in the mid lane. It's been a long time since I've seen Selena in the land of Dawn, and I'm excited to see how ZENO Lilies is going to make it work for them.
Yeah, same, because usually Selena, when you pick it up, the best combination in the roam position should be a Grok, right? Someone that can actually clear the lane really, really fast. If it's not the Grok, usually it's the Cho. So the fact that they went for the Minotaur, I get it. It's also still okay clear. You got the concussive blast shot. Gonna go in for some damage. Good chain too to immobilize Bevan. Forcing her back. Abyssal Trap also connecting, dealing a bit of damage to Electa there. Great lethal Wanderer take. But what do you think about this, Trex? Now that Team Falcons Meta, they're fighting for this is tournament point, like Reptar said, Renmar said earlier. Electa back on the Frederick. This is the old style of MLBB. Velvet gonna be caught in the enhanced chain. Well, not the enhanced chain, just the chain. Doesn't seem like she will use the enhanced version of the skill. Not just yet. She will just back away. She does damage to Velvet.
Not only the Fredrin, right? Not only like on the Fred, which we also have the Matilda paired up with it. This is definitely something we saw, you know, back in M5, you know, back in, and it could be comfort for them. It could be something that works, and in a time like this, it is something you can fall back on when all the other teams are getting crazy with their compositions. This could be the answer here. They did secure some late game possibilities as well, right? They have some decent early game aggression with Velvet in the XP lane when it comes to some of these first turtles having the Terizla. They have good movement as long as they use the Matilda correctly to rotate around the map. And since ZENO Lilies is weak on their mid lane clear, this could give Falcons Mena a little bit of space to buy time, right? So if they can buy that time, make sure Names gets online, make sure Zui gets online, there's a lot of possibilities for them.
Black Dragon Farm used up very early, a bit too early it seems. You know, that's a big resource for the first neutral objective. Velvet's going to have a massive advantage now. Set up Earthshatter, Gaily. Going to poke Kao down, Ramichi on it as well now. Both of them trying to dance around the turtle.
Still very kind of testing the waters here. Also, Minoan has the Black Dragon form, can use that, but they're going to go in actually now.
The penalty zone now, Kyoe able to dash out to safety. Kao still in the midst of it all. Gaily popping a Primal Rat, deals some damage. That's Ramichi winning on the retreat battle. Good disengage with the final blow. Ramichi, 1 Decimate, looking for another now with a Mortal Coil too. Shiromi with the sustained synchro, gonna be caught. Flickers out to safety, but gets tied up as Kao finds the kill. Saw in the mid lane, able to dash out. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Blazing Duet, Taro winning on the trade, but Rian will still be able to survive.
ZENO Lilies just got everything on that whole exchange, and they might still go for another kill here on the bottom side, but man, talk about the power of this Angela pick and how it fits so well into the lineup that ZENO Lilies brought to the table. You saw how strong that hard guard can be. Even the focusing mark, you know, that's a little extra boost. That's 6% that helps with that. And you know, that poke potential was already very impressive with what they had in the fight. You add that to the table and it works wonders here. Eyes is still set on this bottom side though.
Ramichi with the retreat. Good flicker out from Rian. Really just respecting that Mortal Coil used up. She has the stacks, does a bit of damage onto the turret. Kyoe, low, final blow to the front. Gotta be careful. She does use the eye for an eye, but it's a bit different here when you don't have a Petrify up top. Kao swinging the hammer down. Almost getting the kill on Minin, who's still very comfortable in that lane. Just pops regen, acts as if nothing happened.
This is interesting too. I can't recall the previous game that we saw with the Yuzhong pick, but this is a Warcry Yuzhong. And you know, because typically I would say, what do we see the most of? Quantum Charge Yuzhong?
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of default that we see. So I'm wondering if this will be, this little boost of damage is going to be big of that much of a threat, because if you look at the lineup here from VSG, they're all about damage. You know, for the most part, it's like your main tank for this is obviously Gailey here on the Edith. But once that Primal Wrath is used, it's like, all right, now we have an Eternal Guard being the front line, you know, and that's kind of all we have. So I'm wondering, again, with the Yuzhong, maybe a little bit, you lose some of that sustainability, some of that movement speed you can work with, so you're really trying to overload the damage when it comes to these fights, but it looks like, hey, they're just going to give up the objective. You know, they don't want to fall further behind than they already are, as Ramichi gets the turtle.
Clean, and this is usually why the Martis is used up in the jungle. You clear really fast, you have an amazing, I would say, early game skirmish power that you can utilize to force a lot of these team fights, and the execute obviously makes it as though you already have a Sky Piercer from level 4 onwards, right? It's even crazier. It's like a Sky Piercer plus a great Dragon Spear in a way, because you get that movement speed, you get so much more pressure, and I love the fact that she has gone for the Hunter Strike. Usually on the Martis, this is kind of the gamble you play when you play the Martis. In the early game, you win out the fight, you go for Hunter Strike. You lose out the fight, you go for a more defensive build, and luckily for ZENO, they got the fight in their way in the first, you know, turtle, and they are able to just snowball off of that.
Just build up from that point, you know, and at the same time, it's kind of like, if you're looking at VSG and you guys watched their matches earlier, you know, they can still obviously get a lead in this game. It's still early on, but it's more so of like, where do we find the pickoffs here? That's where you start to have to utilize the Yuzhong pick that's brought to the table. Gailey has to land those combinations that we see these Ediths do all the time. And then even to round it out, I mean, for the most part, Beatrix, we haven't seen her too often. She's still a great pick, I would say, you know, for most gold laners, but it's almost in a sense where you see so much Claude's picked up, the Harith's picked up, that Beatrix has been slept on a little bit. So I think for even for Rian, you want to have that gold lane experience. Farm up, get the items that you need, lock those in, and then contribute to these fights. So I think for VSG too, that might be where we see them again, just give up an objective, give up the next turtle even. But look at this, Ramichi goes up top. It's a flicker.
It's always a flicker, the response to any sort of gank, and that's why the Beatrix is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll take your point there. It's very tough. As a gold lane player myself, this is why I personally don't like the Beatrix pick. Even in MSC, when it's picked up, not a fan of it, because especially up against the Claude, there's so many more ways for the Claude to outplay you.
Yeah. But like at some point, you get that spike, you try to turn the tide. They're on the fight for the turtle, though.
Penalty zone. Oh, Ramichi again winning it out now with a good Petrify down. Eternal Guard connecting on a count, still able to flicker out to safety. The final blow does some damage, but Kyoe is going to be caught by Taro, who slows her down for the Decimate. Gailey, Primal Wrath on a turret, another Decimate. Ramichi finds it again. Might be looking for more. Oh, he finds the Maniac. Ramichi. Dives under tier 2.
Oh, Pro, man, again, you know, when you saw this Martis picked up, this might not be what we expected, because for so long now we've seen Martis in the mid, but this is what you have to remember. The Decimate is such a big threat. The resets after reset. And this is, yes, it's so fitting. It's the Levi Ackerman. Boom, boom, the triple, and goes in. And you know what? Why not take the Maniac? Worth.
I don't know. It's worth. It definitely is worth when we're talking about the numbers here, right? Because that's for one, technically. They also got the neutral objective, but that's a big shutdown. That's a massive shutdown. 5-0 she was before getting shut down, and that gold is going to go. I think if it went to Rian, then we would be a bit more concerned. But even to Synchro, that's actually going to help her quite a bit. She was way more behind than only 1,000 compared to Sa.
She's still down, you know, 1,000 gold here, but yeah, that is going to help out a little bit. Still working on that second item too. You also saw, you know, at least now Gailey's a little bit more tanky. She's got Dominance Ice working on the next, but that's also a Thunder Belt picked up now for Kyoe. So she has a little bit more, and I feel like this is, in a way, it's like you're forced to now stick together. That's kind of the game plan because of, I mean, how do you deal with the sustainability with the Angela? Because he's going to be used.
Good reaction. Oh, the onward, just a pixel away from hitting. Taro gets out.
Yeah, look at that, hovering over too with the hard card. So they're like, nope, I got it. They just give the signal, you know, she's fine. They put pressure on top. So now look what the play is here from ZENO Lilies. Go put pressure on top, do that. Wings are also now picked up by Cow. Even more tanky is this Terizla to help even to work in conjunction with the Body of Smith passive. So they'll go ahead and start with the Lord here. Again, for VSG, they're still, I don't know, it doesn't look good if they force a fight in this first objective. I'd honestly like to see them just go ahead and be a little more defensive and then just farm up a little bit longer, because even so, ZENO Lilies, with the lineup that they have, very strong in this portion of the map. You're going to see that too. They're going to play around the Nether Realm that they have. They'll start it up still very slowly here, working on it. Going to spot out Keelway as well, pushing her back. Ramichi, very confident once again on this Martis pick, but still, neither team committing just yet as they kind of feel out the territory here. But eventually, ZENO Lilies will go ahead and play around the fact that they have some macro advantage to this. They've got 3 turrets to VSG's none, and so they can go ahead and take their time with this. But so far, respect. Cow.
Penalty zone, Kaylee goes over to Onward. Now Eternal Guard in the midst of it all as well. Good Nether Realm to actually dish out a little bit more damage. Ramichi finding Kaylee in the back line, now diving as well with the help of the Hard Guard. The Eternal Guard almost getting rid of Cow. The Glowing Wand proc as well, not enough as Kyowe is taking down Rian. Getting shot down, doesn't go for the Renner just yet. Meanwhile,
I think they can hold them off. Possibly if they work through this, that's a quarter of the health here. They're going to have to do something unless they just watch this play out. Renner's going to be used. She's going to find a target.
Finding Ramichi, but she still finds the retreat into the Decimate. Minion going to be caught despite getting a good Furious dive. That's why the anti-CC, the Mortal Coil of the Martis is so annoying to deal with.
Just a massive game here from Ramichi, 7-1 now. Even if she was shut down earlier, you know, now you can see it too. She's going for, she picked up that Hunter Strike early on, and this is what I liked about the Martis. The build is very flexible. It's very adaptable. She is now going that tanky, because now she is, I mean, even with the Heart Guard, or without the Heart Guard, her alone is tanky enough as a frontliner, and the Mortal Coil, the way that works, it's kind of finicky. You know, you really, it's almost a feinted away to deal with that. But look at this damage.
Wow,
the damage dealt here. This is still, it's crazy to see Faramis still do this kind of damage.
I guess because for the most part, VSG, this is something that I think ZENO Lilies did a great, read on VSG in their game against Team Falcons, because VSG, they are known to go for these big team fights where they clump up together.
Yeah.
And that's why the Faramis is finding so much value. Every single time VSG look for that combo, they're the ones to get punished by the Nether Realm extending the HP bars of every single member, and obviously the Ghost Bursters.
Yep.
That finds a lot of value when you are clumped up.
Now they're going to have to deal with this Lord push, top side, trying to hold on to these base turrets the best they can. It is only the first Lord, so they'll make quick work of it. They get poked, though, still under the base turret. They'll see for ZENO Lilies if they can actually put some pressure more. They still got a tier 2 on the bottom side to work on too, so they'll go ahead and send down Taro to clear and push that wave in. Surprisingly too, they hold on to that tier 1 still, even at this point in the game, with VSG only having that 1 turret. So really, even looking at the items here, as things kind of fall into place, it's still up in the air. You know, where are you going to find that initiation, that frontliner? Because right now in this game, Keelway can't do it.
No.
You know, she shined earlier when we saw her play the Benedetta because of the lineups that they had at the time, the way that they were able to move around the map and play front side. But at this point, you're a Benedetta where it's like you just got to kind of wait for your moment. And it's the opposite for Ramichi. Ramichi on a Martis can just kind of, you know, swing around the way that Mortal Kombat, that's the sound that Mortal Kombat has for me, you know, and it's like, you can
specific skin.
Yeah, so the specific skin. If only, you know, Levi was flying around too, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. So buffs are going to be choked out, of course, but really this is the downtime until this next Lord. And I don't know, Miracle, I think even now, VSG isn't really capable, unless somehow they get a setup of a lifetime to go ahead and contest this next objective.
It's really hard to, I mean, like, say what VSG really need to do, because technically the easy way would be, yeah, bait out some of these resources, but it's way easier said than done. You need to bait out Nether Realm, you need to bait out the Heart Guard, and while you're trying to go back and forth, there's a Martis chasing you down. There's Taro, who can constantly put down some utility with the slows from the corrosion side as well. So it's really hard for you to even kite back. It's way easier said than done. And even then, I don't know. It almost feels like this is why. Oh, Kaylee! Goes over to Onward, doesn't find it, gets the Earth Shatter, but Sai just walks out of the Bennett's rage. And now they've used all the resources. Oh, Shiromi unable to survive right there. Good final blow to the back line. That has thrown them away with Shiromi taken down.
But that was everything. They used everything for that just to get Shiromi. So, you know, ZENO Lilies, they know. They have this information, and even down a member, they might just kind of poke, get the information they need, and start up this Lord here. QA does pick up a Malefic Roar at this point, and you can see Lord is hurting, right? You can't just sit there and tank it. So they might even have to wait for the Netherrealm to be back up, even down a member. But as soon as Shiromi gets close, you know, she can just hard guard into the fight if she wants to. Still respecting the damage here too. You know, interesting maneuvers earlier from Gailey as well. Yeah. Utilizing that flicker, goes in again. Trying to get that Netherrealm out. Not going to happen though. Eternal Guard drops though too. You can see hard guard being held on top here for Taro. This might be the time. I mean, they're very disciplined, very taking their time with this. Actually, they still don't want to commit to it.
Yeah, I don't think they need to commit to it. Again, knowing how much the Lord hurts now in this patch. I think we saw ZENO Lilies actually do that against Team Falcon's Mena earlier. They try to go for the Lord Dance. The Lord new passive kicks in. They start getting melted down by the Lord, and then they lose the fight. So obviously for ZENO Lilies, they definitely want to utilize the advantage they have in the side lane. They have an Angela that's going to be constantly pushing these waves towards VSG. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's just really tough. They were able to bait out Sauce Purify, though. So that's already a really good setup for Gailey. Perhaps go for something. Conceal, onward, Earth Shatter, into the Terrify, into the Eternal Guard. The combo is massive, but Sa comes in with a Netherrealm. Mortal Coil from Ramichi. Gailey going to be taken down. No, just Immortality. Kao losing her life. Now Kyoe jumping in the midst of it all. Good knockup from the Lord Rian. Guns are down. Taro with a crown. Straight into the nature of Rian. Looking for some damage. Taro able to use the BMI backwards. Rian going for the chase down. Trying to look for the read as to where they are. Ramichi.
Oh, they're going to find her?
Goes for it now with the Mortal Coil 2. Doesn't want to go for the Decimate. Sa comes back up, almost gets rid of Rian and Minim. But now 5 and 11. VSG, they found a way.
They found a way. That's what I was going to say. You know, I was like, man, I don't know if they can contest it, but hey, they actually just played the tune that ZENO Lilies set. They didn't commit to the Lord just yet. They were waiting earlier before that whole fight broke out. They used all their ultimates. They waited for them to be back online. And then, in a very similar fashion, they started the fight up after ZENO Lilies started the Lord and end up winning. And that's also just because the positioning of Rian was on point here. And again, this is where, you know, Beatrix, she takes a while to get to this point. She's got 4 arms now, make it 5, just gets the Blade of Hepsies, has that, picked up the Wind of Nature earlier. Oh, and they're actually going to go run it down mid a little bit further.
Black Dragon form, great zoning, just to enable the charge to happen from the Lord. Mortal Coil going to be used up. Gailey forced to use the Primal Wrath bottom lane, though. This is why the Benedetta gets a lot of value when you are ahead. When you have the proactive maneuvers, no Purify to Terrify connects onto Sa. She actually already has a Purify, and that's some crazy patience to have. Yeah. Knowing that everybody could collapse, Sa still holds onto the Purify, which is great for her.
Hey man, I would say, you know, this is that extra inning that VSG needed in this game. They waited, you know, quite some time. They were down quite a bit. They had some pretty bad team fights earlier on in the game. But through their discipline, they've managed to get this point, which is essentially it's even now. Like, it's an even ball game. They've got the items that they needed. They're locked in now. And so all that does, yeah, they got some turrets that they desperately needed to be able to move around the map. But really what that does is allow them to be on even footing for the next Lord, which is usually most likely going to be a game-winning Lord, depending on how both teams kind of play that out. Also an Immortality being picked up, a couple more defensive